All right, guys, welcome in. It is practically 1 in the morning on the East Coast. The Yankees win 5-1 over the Angels. They're now 33-20. We've got a lot of really pretty interesting topics. Got some juicy nuggets from Michael K on the broadcast about Giancarlo Stanton. We're going to get into the Anthony Volpe thing. Obviously hit a 3-run double. Huge hit for this game. Ryan Yarbrough, again, like I said, Giancarlo Stanton. And then that random Luke Weaver appearance at the end of that game. It was strange. Jake, how'd you feel about this game? Because it is interesting watching as an East Coast fan and then these games happening. I think I'm cool with it just as a patron. I don't have to do a podcast, but this is kind of wild. I actually consider just showing up in my pajamas.
Yeah, I am not a fan of West Coast games. They're just not fun for me. Being that I'm a Laker fan, because the Rams, they play in LA, but they play at 4. That's the late game, right? 4. The Lakers, I have to stay up until 10:30 to watch them. You know?
Yeah, that's wild.
And as you know, I do stay up late, but it's not ideal. Like I told you before, I'm exhausted. Like I mean, this game takes a lot out of you because it's weird. When you only have one crooked number, like in an inning, which the Yankees, that's their specialty, right? They'll have that one inning that propels them. The problem with that is it means most of the innings were pretty damn boring, right? So this was kind of a boring, exciting game, and really the excitement came off the bat of Anthony Volpe with that 3-run bases clearing double. That really, when you saw him hit that, you're like, one, that was the worst pitch I've ever seen in that. Like, what are you doing throwing that? But 2, not only was that the worst pitch ever to throw to Volpe, it also, you just knew the game was over at that point. You know, it felt like the way Yarbrough was pitching, which he was fun to watch. Yarbrough's striking guys out, which is crazy because that's not even his forte. We took the over on 3.5 strikeouts on Profit X, and yeah, we profited. We'll just say that.
Can we bring up, by the way, that decision? Because we're not just going to make everything Anthony Volpe does well and just say, well, it was the other team's mistake. Because technically speaking, everything that Aaron Judge ever does the rest of the season is technically a mistake from the other team. They shouldn't pitch to him regardless. But I guess the overhanging idea, right? There's the mentality that we all have about Anthony Volpe. He's not a bad player. He's just not. He can hit, he can run, he can steal you a bag. I mean, obviously, a couple of my followers on X were like, hey, where'd the legs go? Like, we don't see him as aggressive on the base pass, and I do somewhat agree with that. But Anthony Volpe can field, right? Maybe the throwing arm is to be desired, but overall, he can pretty much do everything. And yet, you look up at the stats and you say, well, he is driving a lot of runs. That's a great thing. But having said that, you look up and you see a contact guy who's got some pop. You'd like to see 275, 280, in the batting average category. Then, of course, like you'd think in general, this would be a more consistent bat. Why is he not? Because of his plate discipline. And yet, you mentioned that pitch to Anthony Volpe. That was an 0-2 pitch. And what was so interesting, actually, about that was what transpired in his second and then his third at-bat. Anthony Volpe shows up in that second at-bat. He immediately goes down 0-2. The very next pitch is a chase pitch. Does he chase it? Yes, he absolutely does. What happens in his third at-bat? He chases, getting himself out. So, again, pitching is much harder than we're obviously making it out to be. Of course, pitches don't end up all the time where you want them to. But I will say, if you're going to go after this player, if you're in the strike zone, Anthony Volpe is going to do just fine. If you're in the strike zone, he's not going to struggle. This is why I think I saw somebody in our little pre-chat that we had, they were talking about Volpe because obviously that was our prompt. And what really to take away from this player, Jake, he's not bad. He's just going to be streaky because the plate discipline's not there. One team is going to attack him the correct way, make him lay off pitches off outside the plate, right? Outside the zone. And then other teams like the Angels tonight, they made one mistake to him ahead of the count. They made a pitch they didn't have to. They paid for it.
Yeah, look, Anthony Volpe on that that at bat right there, back in the top of the fourth, Gary, okay, with the bases loaded, was the Anthony Volpe at bat of his career, in my opinion. If you were to look for an at bat that just kind of explains like what Volpe can be, what you don't want him to be. It was all in this at bat. The first pitch, he takes one right, like almost middle looking.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you don't want to jump on the first pitch. You do want to kind of see, but that is probably the best pitch you're going to get. Then you have the foul ball. Gary, that was way inside, and he swings at that, and you're like, wait. You didn't swing at the one middle, and then you swing at the one that's in, like, almost at your letters, like literally touching the letters on your jersey. And then the third pitch, it's a high middle fastball, and he just crushes it 96 off the bat, showing you really what Volpe can be. I think that in a nutshell, when Volpe's at his best, he's driving the ball. That is slugging. He's not hitting home runs. He doesn't need to hit home runs. That double cleared the bases. That's as good as anything, right? Oh, yeah, having another run might have been nice, but grand slam or 3-run double, there's really not that big of a difference between the two. So, look, in this game, this is the inning, and this is the moment it put, in my opinion, put the Angels away. I had no doubt about them losing this game after that, that play. Felt like that was the game right there. And that's why Dominguez striking out, and which was the weirdest at bat, because that felt like an Anthony Volpe at bat. And then
should we
Volpe
glue his
at
right
bat,
hand to the bat with how much his hand flies off the bat? This happens all the time. But I don't want to stray off, I guess, the point.
Yeah.
Anthony Volpe is essentially, it's like going to McDonald's. You go to McDonald's, every once in a while you'll remember, hey, no salt on those fries. And what happens? They make them fresh. But then you forget. They'll literally give you a bag of fries, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, they're going to make it fresh to order. No. They'll literally give you the bottom of the barrel, bottom of the basket French fries, no consistency whatsoever. So I think, and I did see this in the chat, I located it. People were talking about expectations. What are your expectations for one player versus the next? And Anthony Volpe is a highly skilled player you cannot trust with expectations. He has all the talent. That's why he's a top prospect. That's why so many people, they say, well, if you criticize this player, you're hating. They're defending this player because of his skill set. The problem with this player is that you watch tonight, we don't win this game without Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe came through in a big way. But you'd think, having watched that first at-bat, it must mean something heading into the second or the third at-bat. He must be building on something. And what I've learned as a podcaster of this team, Anthony Volpe doesn't build off anything. He does one thing, and it is a standalone experience. You take what you get, and then all of a sudden, Jake, it's like, oh, the third at-bat, it's a bad hitter all of a sudden. So I hope as time goes on, he starts to hone in what it is he doesn't do well, which is play discipline. If he can hone that in, he's going to be great. But, of course, we have no idea what's going to change about that area.
So are you saying that Anthony Volpe is essentially an 8-ball, a magic 8-ball that you're like...
I want to get to these supers, but it does feel
he's top 5 in every, so among all shortstops in the AL, he's top 5 in every offensive category. So it's like, that's why I wanted to talk about this, because before we get into our super chat, Scary, and that's why the prompt today is, our eyes deceiving us with Anthony Volpe, is that Gary and I are incredibly frustrated with this player more often than not. But then you look up and you're like, well, like my dad even said, 245 as a shortstop, I would have killed for that back in the day. That was kind of not that bad. Like now, okay, guys are hitting better, but even still, it seems like a weak year at the shortstop position. That said, I'm not going to flip-flop here. I am going to stand by what I said. And I think you might know where I'm going with this, but I texted you this at some point during the game. I forget exactly when I texted you, but I said, Zach Neto is what we expected Anthony Volpe to be.
And what is that exactly?
A guy that can hit 280, can show some power here and there, slugs, right? And is a good fielder. And, I think Neto he's never going to be like a superstar, but he was another first-round pick that I think has lived up to the expectations. Maybe some Angels fans would say he hasn't because first-round pick, whatever, but I don't know. I would say he's a really good player, and I think that can Volpe be that? I mean, sure, but yeah, there are times where I'm like, Yeah, I would like to see Volpe, like, OPS is over like 830 type deal, you know?
Okay, so is it safe to say that as Yankees fans and just this fan base in general, we care about what your baseline looks like more than your ceiling? Is that safe to say? Because
That's what I'm getting more often than not.
That's what I feel like. So if I look at a player who hits 290, and I'm not going to drag this on because I want to get to our supers. Thank you, Scott Ross. Thank you, Mark. But if you really think about this, aren't we really complaining about what Volpe looks like on average and not about what his ceiling looks like? I think when you look at his RBIs, a lot of his numbers, when you look up, you see 250, you see 30-plus ribbies, right? You see great defense. Once you peel it back, you say, we're actually getting a lot from this player. I don't even want to say I hate to say it. Right. So there's a lot of red there.
Yeah. So it's just a different player, obviously. But
yes,
I just wanted
it's a different
to put
player.
that out
But
there.
the point is, when you look at someone's baseball savant page and it looks like that, you'd imagine there's going to be more consistency. My problem is not with Volpe's ceiling, because what it shows you is when he reaches that ceiling for a day, there's a high ceiling there to be had. We benefit in a major way. He's dominant on both sides of the ball on that day. The problem is, what does he look like tomorrow? What does he even look like in the sixth inning as opposed to the at-bat you just saw in the top half of the fourth? What happens then? And there is no baseline. So obviously players like Neto provide higher baselines, and your perception of them is more positive. So I don't blame you at all for that perspective. I hope Anthony Volpe just figures out the strike zone. I have no idea why it would change. Maybe he needs LASIK. I don't know. Like, I saw Jameis Winston get LASIK surgery in the middle of his career. Didn't really make a ton of difference, but I don't know. It's neither here nor there. I hope this ends up working out with Volpe. He obviously has the skill set. Scott Ross with the super says Yankees had a case of
Scott.
the Verdugos tonight. Oh, we were killing worms. 7 grounders to second base. That is true. I don't miss that, Scott. How do we fix the bottom of the lineup? Wells, Peraza, and Bibas. Rally killers, Josh Young. So, to address this real short, and Jake, I'll kick it off to you. I really think this is more health related, to be quite honest with you. Jazz Chisholm is just sort of that guy. The Yankees know he's coming back. Giancarlo Stanton is going to be coming back. And we'll talk about it later in the show. Michael K did talk about the fact that Giancarlo should play every day. Like, that's the role he envisions for this player, given his health. And that's pretty justified. But if you consider that, that means the designated hitter spot is now wiped away for Giancarlo, meaning that you're having another player in Ben Rice having to now slot down the lineup if you can find a way to get him in that lineup positionally. So, Scott, my answer, short and sweet, is health related. A lot of those guys are on the field because some other guys are banged up, and that's just sometimes the way it crumbles.
Yeah, it's tough right now, because the case of the Verdugos is very well put, right? And it is appreciated. I think when you look at the bottom of the lineup, it's really frustrating because I thought Wells, he just had an unlucky day. He was hitting the ball hard today. Peraza, that was one of the worst days, not with the glove, but again, that was one of the worst days I've seen him at the plate. No hard contact, no contact at all. I don't even think he fouled a pitch. And you hate to see it, but it's just, if he doesn't have it, they have to find a bat, because you can find a guy who's marginal with the glove, and that's not going to kill you. His glove today, don't get me wrong, that play was insane to throw out. It was, what was it? It was Moncada.
I can't remember who it was, but do you think that the Yankees also feel they won't need a bat to preserve this lead in the division? And maybe because the arms, especially in our starting rotation, are throwing so well, they expect Heel to come back. Maybe they're going to rely on defense at third, at least until the deadline. Like, I agree with you.
Well,
I think,
deadline is what I'm talking about. I don't think they make a move now.
Yeah, of course, because it does feel like, at least from now to the deadline, they'll probably be just fine getting hardly anything at third base. If the defense is going to look this way, Fried's putting the ball on the ground, right? Yarborough, they're putting the ball on the ground. There are a lot of ground balls with our guys on mounds.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefit. And Jake, you were the first one to tell me, I really like Peraza's defense at third base. I do. It's about the bat. What type of consistency are we getting? So far, we've gotten none. he hasn't really shown up, but we're winning games, so we won't complain too much. And I love this super from Mark. Mark, thank you for the 50. Says Weaver out there. Yeah, I think a lot of us were confused. I think we were going to save this to the end, but we'll just touch on it now. Says,
well, yeah.
He says, was it to make it an easy outing after the last one? Either way, he looked gassed, and I'm concerned about his arm if we do that. Also, how about that big man? No, not Judge. Yarborough, baby. After that first at-bat home run, he looked locked in, so...
Jake, Neto.
Yeah, and yet Neto pimped that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't bother me. If you hit a homer, you can pimp it. But I did find it
he didn't Jose Syria down 10.
He sure did. That was embarrassing. But I couldn't make any sense of it. I couldn't. And when Michael Kay brings it up on the broadcast and says, would you have brought him in here? When Michael Kay brings a question, soon as something starts, just know it's the wrong move. And
yeah,
we end up winning the game. Ultimately, if he threw somebody else out there and all of a sudden you're looking up and it's 5-4, we're going to say you can't play around with the first game of the series. You got to treat every game like that's sort of what we would do. But Weaver had just thrown. Like this is like literally 3 of the last 4 games he'd thrown. He's not going to pitch tomorrow. And statistically speaking, statistics say tomorrow's game will be much closer than today's. That's just the way it goes. You win a game, the next day, the other team's going to throw a punch. Can you survive that punch? Well, if you do, you're probably going to survive by 1 or 2 runs. Who do you want out there, Jake? You probably want Luke Weaver pitching. And yeah, to Mark's point, you did see a lot of 91, 92 out there. So don't want to stare at the radar gun too much. I'm not going to panic about it, but did find it interesting given what happened last year where, Jake, we were like, why is Clay Holmes not pitching in this game early in the season? And Boone said, well, I don't want to overwork this guy. And then Weaver is just sort of being worked like a dog. So not sure about this.
Yeah, no, I did not agree at all the way they used Weaver. Weaver had just pitched. And keep in mind, it was also a long outing. Like when you have a closer going out and he's throwing 20-plus pitches, that's not like a great outing for a closer, right? He's really having to work. And he just did that on Sunday. So you put him back out there. They even had, when Devin Williams started warming up, I'm like, they're not going to have a closer tomorrow. Like, this is why they should have just stuck with Mark Leiter Jr. I thought he looked good. I know he gave up the hit, and maybe that freaked him out a little bit, but I thought he looked really good. That splitter looked really nasty. His stuff was good today. I thought they should have kept him in. I think he gets out of it and, would have been totally fine. He's gone 2 innings before. It wouldn't even been a full 2 innings. So, Gary, I think this was a mistake on Boone's part. Do I think it's a mistake that would cost them a game? No. But I think it's a mistake that could cost them multiple games if Luke Weaver were to go down with an injury. And that's, I think, what a lot of people were against, because you can't on one hand say, yeah, I don't want to pitch Clay Holmes 80 innings. But down the other, the next year, you're like, yeah, I don't want to pitch, and then you end up throwing Luke Weaver out multiple times.
What's Weaver on pace for? I know we didn't talk about this. We didn't really tee it up. I just thought about it. I do think it would be interesting to figure out. I know Weaver, technically, he is built up to go multi-inning, whereas Holmes is not. So it's not a perfect comparison. But if you look up and your best arm in your bullpen has almost 100 innings of work, right? The Cleveland Guardians did this with Clase. They just threw him a ton. And all of a sudden, he was wildly hittable for not only us, but the series before they played us. Clase was the best arm in the game. It was not debatable.
He's on pace for 75 innings.
It's a lot of work. So,
yeah.
But so, again, it's multi-inning, and that's also, I don't want to put too much pressure on Boone, because when guys do go an inning and 2/3, it adds up quickly.
No, definitely. Alex Reyes, appreciate you with the 5. Overtime at work, been crazy. Nice to see y'all doing well. Appreciate that. Also, why as well seem to stop pulling the ball. Nothing but late pop flies lately. That's interesting. Has he? I haven't really noticed.
I haven't noticed, but obviously this is a good observation that I'll be paying attention to. So again, Alex, thank you for the super. Thank you for the 5. I would just say this. Jake, you brought it up maybe 2 or 3 days ago that Austin Wells maybe is just a slow starter. Perhaps.
That's what we're hoping for, because it's not great.
statistics say he's never been good at the beginning of the season. He just never has been. At best last year, we were talking about velocity off the barrel. That's the only reason why we were so high on him. But maybe it takes him a month and a half. And he's a guy at the bottom of our lineup that if he starts hitting, what does this Yankees offense look like? So yeah, Alex, it doesn't look great. Austin Wells is not one of our better hitters, but he is still a quality at bat. And that's where I'm placing the value. And of course, like I've always said about Wells, his job is to catch. You frame pitches, you block the ball. I know you can't really throw that great, but maybe throw out a guy here and there and then figure it out offensively towards the middle of the season. And then we'll work on the end of the season. So if it's not working towards the break, yeah, Alex, I absolutely will be ringing that bell.
Yeah, right now, I think, Austin Wells is not really like the biggest issue. I feel like it's B-Boss and I would say Peraza. Because you got to have guys that can hit the bottom of the order. If they can't, there's going to be games where you need 8 and 9 hitters to get through because you have to get back to the top. And I'm finding more often, Judge didn't even get that final at bat today. Why? Because the guys at the bottom were 0 for 3, 0 for 4. So yeah, it has kind of a resounding effect there. And yeah, not great.
Yeah, we're not struggling to score runs. So am I worried? I'll tell you this right now. My mom is not the biggest fan of Austin Wells. She is not. She's like, this dude never hits, which is fair because she's really started to watch this team really more towards the end of last year.
Like September?
Like in September.
So he's literally the worst player that she's ever seen because she missed all of August. August, he was incredible. Like you and I were like, he's top 5 in the league. He's a top 5 catcher in the league.
Yeah, when he had it going, he was hitting, and then obviously
he's 325 all of August.
He was hitting over 300 for a pretty extended period of time.
Yeah,
his framing was number 1 in the league. His
blocking
like 5
was 3-hit games.
His blocking was top 90th percentile. So if you can block, you can frame better than 99% of the league. You can hit over 300 as a catcher. What do you want me to say about you? But when you fall off a cliff in August, and most importantly in October, where we really maybe not needed him, but we need any impact we can get, we got nothing. And then now we're dealing with a slow start. So I don't really care about this too much because the Yankees are scoring. We're winning. We're 6 games up in the division over Tampa. So, yeah, I'm not freaking out about it. But Apex with the Super. Apex, thank you so much for the 2. Always been a supporter of this channel. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Apex.
Says, does Cole finally allow a 6-man rotation? My answer will be no. I never agree with a 6-man rotation. I don't think it works. I don't think it makes sense. I'm not paying $200+ million for a player that is now going to take an extra day to just get on the field. I want as many starts because you have to remember, you go 6-man rotation. That means you're going to get less starts from Max Fried. You're going to get less starts from a Luis Heel. You're going to get less starts from a Carlos Rodon. And I want those guys who I pay a lot of money to get out there and pitch as much as possible. So I like the concept that, well, we've got 6 guys we trust, but I feel if you've got 6 guys you trust, you've got 1 guy to trade. We did that this offseason with Nestor Cortez. I thought it's actually worked out in our favor, especially given how injuries have shaken out with Nestor. But yeah, Jake, I don't touch the 6-man rotation. It's just my opinion.
No, and I have a similar opinion, but maybe, you've probably thought about this too, but when it took me this long to get Carlos Rodon comfortable, I'm not touching, I'm not moving anything. He needs to be on the exact schedule. And I understand I'll deal with that after the All-Star break because he's probably not going to be on the same exact schedule. They'll reset the rotation, but that time off tends to ruin, it doesn't always. Like if you're a bad pitcher at the start of the season and you get the All-Star break, you come back and you can turn things around. But the All-Star break is never good for guys that are going into it like on fire. Like you don't want to stop, right? But that's my thing is that when you turn it into a 6-man rotation, I guess it's kind of like, all right, ideally, the best thing, like run creation wise, Judge batting cleanup would probably be the best because he'd probably produce more runs. The problem is now how many at bats is that taking away from him? It's no different than if you do the 6-man rotation.
It's
How
the
many
exact same
innings
thing.
is that taking away?
Yeah.
Now I have Max Fried pitching less because I want to get the 6th guy an opportunity. Like, that's ridiculous.
It just seems like we're trying to prove a point. Like, hey, we've got 6 guys. So isn't this cool? And it's great, technically speaking. I guess the concept is it's going to minimize the risk of injuries, technically speaking. The Japanese do this.
They're going to go to a 4-man
rotation.
rotation first, I think. I think we're aiming towards 4. So this is my theory. I think baseball is going in the direction of a 4-man rotation with the 5th guy being an opener. And you're going to have probably 2 guys in the bullpen that can be that opener.
Okay.
And that's what I think the league is going to go to.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I've never thought about the opener being there at the end, but
because I think they're going to build up these bullpen guys, and we're going to see, like, and whether it's sustainable or not, we're going to see these guys pitching crazy innings. Because I think that's the thing is, over the course of time, I've watched bullpen become more and more and more important every year. And so, I mean, you see it. The Yankees have one of the best bullpens in the league right now. They have the second best starting rotation, aside from Texas. And what did Brian Cashman say? Pitching, pitching, pitching. Does that not tell you? Like, that's the direction the league's going in.
yeah, and sustainability. I don't know if people care about what's sustainable. They care about what works.
Yeah.
Look at Major League Baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers' top prospect is throwing 103 as a starter, and his arm slot is here. I'm gonna throw it sidearm right there. You think he was thinking about sustainability?
No. It's
When he
working
created
for
that?
him.
No.
He'll cross the bridge when it happens.
And you know what? He may be healthy. It may never be a problem. But if he gets hurt, he goes through rehab, he comes back, and he shows up throwing 103 again. So this game today is not about sustainability. It's not about who can play 20 years. It's about maximizing. So, yeah, I understand the concept. I actually really like the question about the 6-man rotation because it's thought-provoking.
It got
You've
2 great
Garrett
answers
Cole,
out of it. So
right. And now you look at Yarborough. Yarborough looks like a starter. He's now built
legitimately.
up. Season high in pitches today. He's now built up to go 5 or 6 innings and be able to be a genuine starter for this team. And
You know who he's
DeAce
replaced?
Avenue. Who?
He's replaced Nestor Cortez, another guy he's not even throwing 90, and he's just blowing it by guys. It's so wild how Matt Blake will take guys. It's like, oh, yeah, you can't even hit 90. That's
How old
totally
is he,
fine.
by the way, Yarborough?
I think he's
unsure of this.
31.
He's making himself some money here.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees do kind of one of those deals that we saw with like Jonathan Loaizaga, where they bring him back on a 1-year deal and they give him a lot of money, and Yarborough looks at it and it's like, yeah, why not? Type deal.
I wouldn't take it.
If I was Yarborough, I'd be like, all right, Dodgers.
I tell him to beat Rock. I'll go sign with. Right, we've seen it. The Giants did it. They bring in a closer. They sign him to a 3, 4, 5-year deal. You give him $90 million. Yarborough's not going to get $90 million. But the point is,
yeah, no, I know.
Someone's going to look at him and say, "Look at him. He can give you 20 plus starts. He can build up to 90 pitches. He can actually get guys out. He can pitch on the road. He keeps the ball on the ground. He can pitch at home. He pitched in a big market in New York. Why can't he come pitch for us?"
Yeah.
Someone will throw him $8 million a year to come pitch for the next 3 years.
No, you know
It's
who
insane.
will throw him that? The Mets.
Exactly.
The Mets will be like,
good for
a
him.
Yankee? Another Yankee reliever that we could turn into a starter? Hell yeah.
So good for him. And it happens all across baseball. So
Oh, yeah.
DeAce
No, I know.
Avenue with the 2. Thank you for
Thank
getting
you.
involved. I don't think I've seen this name before on our show. So
I don't think I have
welcome
either.
in.
Yes.
And again, guys, if you're new here, please make sure you like this video and subscribe, most importantly, hitting that bell so it notifies you. DeAce Avenue wants to know, he says, I like JC's plate appearance, basically his play discipline, more than Wells right now. I think everybody, by the way,
well, the numbers
likes-
suggest that, yeah, you're absolutely right. to like
everybody
that.
likes his at-bats better right now. His swing's better, his shoes are better, his cleats are, everything's better. Everything's better right now. We just sort of know that JC is 30 plus in
Yeah.
age, and Austin Wells is this player that the Yankees are developing, and they assume the ceiling is what you saw towards the All-Star break of last season. So that's what the Yankees are counting on. Do those at-bats look better from JC? Yes.
They do.
Absolutely. Yep.
Better, and to the point, he's hitting more opposite field. Very Robinson Cano-esque. That, like I said, that swing is just really nice. But yeah, the numbers support it. The Savant numbers support it. I mean, just if you don't believe me, look at this for a sec. I mean, this is a good example of this. We'll see here. So this is Wells, right? Now look at JC Escara, and I want you to focus on these ones right here, right down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So he's not qualified, but like this guy, his chase rate is super low, which is
what was
great.
that super chat? What was the exact words he used? I like his
plate discipline more than Wells. Well, this is plate discipline.
There you have it.
So I look, I'm not hating on Austin Wells, but you got 244, 752. If Wells is not off to just a slow start and he continues to do this, JC Escara is going to turn this into a timeshare. We already saw a 30-year-old catcher do this in Jose Trevino. So
this is really good information. I see this in the chat, and I always love when people give us this bit of information. So the promise one on PS4, I don't know if he knows PS5's out now. JC was a batting champion in Winter League. Now, mind you,
okay. All right.
You don't win a batting title without having play discipline. It does not exist. No. I'm just here to tell you guys, the only way you can hit for high batting average is if you understand what's a strike and what's not. That's the difference between consistent players and not. Obviously, there's talent mixed in there, but figuring out what's a strike and what's not, in having these type of at-bats that JC's proving he can have consistently, that's talent. So I love watching his at-bats, but like I was saying earlier, Austin Wells is more of the project that we can work on and we can figure out. And I do believe there's definitely something there with Austin Wells. But yeah, it is difficult to be a part of that pursuit with Wells when you know you've got a better at bat on the bench. So, and it doesn't help when he's the, statistically speaking, in JC, the 6th best catcher in the game as well, defensively.
And we got an update. He does have a PS5. He just hasn't updated his username.
It would be the most awesome thing ever for him to show up as the promised one on PS5.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. And Ronnie, great. I don't want this to be neglected here. We put it up for 2 seconds, but Ronnie, thank you. Yes, hit the like button, also known as the thumbs up button. It helps more than you know. Trust me, it does. We have another super chat. You guys are wilding on the super chats. We appreciate it.
It's really sad that the like button does a damn thing, but it does.
I know. Apex, thank you for the 2. When Cole returns, do you keep Will Warren, Yarby, or Schmidt? So here's the interesting thing. Yarby isn't going to be on the Yankees in all likelihood when Cole returns, because that'll be next year. And that is interesting because, Gary, since we're talking about 31, 32-year-old, whatever. Why? It's interesting because, like, why would they trade Will Warren or Clark Schmidt to make room for Heel and, like, just not move Yarby back into the bullpen? But honestly, I can't help but think there were 2 players that I just kept looking at and saying I would not be surprised if they trade him: Clark Schmidt and Jazz Chisholm. And Jazz is probably a no since the recent comments. But Clark Schmidt feels like the Jordan Montgomery here. Either him or Will Warren, but I think it's Clark Schmidt. I think they're kind of they're starting to really like Will Warren. And I think that 10 strikeout game really kind of opened their eyes. So
I think everybody likes Will Warren at this point. You're missing bats. The sweeper's nasty. The 2 seems disgusting. The changeup's filthy.
Injuries are a concern. I'm not saying Will Warren won't have injury issues, but Clark Schmidt's always hurt. So I could see Cashman taking him and be like, all right, Milwaukee, give us Freddie Peralta, and we'll give you like international pool money. We'll give you a prospect, whatever.
Oh, but, my. Look at that.
What?
The promised one on PS5. Let's go. Welcome
let's
in.
Go.
So that should be 2 likes on the video. Just know you got to deliver. But
well,
I want to put that.
Don't hit it twice. It'll unlikely.
Yeah, that's true. So I want to throw this back up there. So my answer to this, Will Warren is showing too high of a ceiling to essentially say, like, I'm going to get rid of this player. I don't think that's possible at this point. And there's all types of different opinions on Will Warren. Some people say this is just a flash in the pan, He's got good stuff. It's going to come back down to earth. And certainly it's not going to look like this long term. And if it was, he'd be a $200 million player. But the point is, the stuff is there. There's something to build on. But what about Yarby? Well, Yarborough is a player who we don't expect to be back next year. This is something you get to enjoy in the now, whereas you've already mentioned Garrett Cole shows up. This player will be gone. But Clark Schmidt, on the other hand, what is it about him that makes you say, I want this player to return? We both on this podcast, Jake, have said we really like, and I know it's hard to say now because he's not really pitching that well. His command's not there where we're used to it. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you've mentioned the durability. If a player long-term is showing you, I can't be available, do you know what happens when you get a job, a 9 to 5, and you show your boss consistently that you can't be relied on to show up on time or show up at all?
They fire you.
They get rid of your behind. That's the way it ends up working out. So you may be able to quiet quit, as the young kids like to call it, and hide in the corner, call so-and-so to fill in your position. You may be able to survive for 6 months to a year at a job knowing, whatever. But I guess the point is you eventually lose that position, regardless of your talent. So I really like Clark. I do. You look up at his Savant page, there's a lot of red, which tells me the velocity's there, the spin's there, all the movement. It's great. It's something that Matt Blake will love to work with. But it's really hard for Matt Blake to work with somebody who's in the trainer's room. So if I had to give you a genuine answer here, I'm not rooting for this. I want to keep these players around. But Clark Schmidt's making this very difficult to keep him around long term when he can't stay available.
That's really it, because I can be patient with the bad start after the injury, but yeah, I think the Yankees are going to look at this and say, we can get, a guy like Freddie Peralta potentially by just throwing in Clark Schmidt and another prospect and some international pool money. Then we're going to do it because, he's given us 352 innings and he's 29 years old. So he's not young anymore. I think that's another thing. Like, he's in his prime, right? He's my age. But, like,
we're in our prime.
Yeah, we're in our prime. What do you mean?
How long can we podcast, by the way? I know this is off topic. When are we, too old to podcast? Do you think when we turn 40, people are going to be like, why am I getting my info from these 40-year-olds?
You know what's so funny? You say that. I think about that every day. I'm like, wait, am I going to be doing this until I'm 60? And, I'm just going to have, my group of people that, have been following me. They're just going to watch me. And honestly, from people in, the football industry, I actually can say yes. There will be those people that watch you because they kind of grew with you,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll be doing this a long time. I love that comment.
I'm going full Michael K. I'm not doing any West Coast after I turn 40. I'm done.
Oh, dude, I like that. Yeah,
I'll be waking up at 5 a.m. for my coffee. I'm not doing any of these late night pods. I tell you.
Well, we'll just be like, all right, guys. Yeah, we're off tomorrow. We didn't make the trip to the West Coast. It's well,
shoot. If this podcast still exists when I'm in my 40s, we'll have producers and all this stuff. So technically, it'll be a lot easier.
We'll have fill-ins. They'll be filling in tonight for the West Coast.
Oh, please. We'll just fill me in with AI. That's what we'll do.
Oh, my God. Or it'll be Alex.
Yeah, Alex, we appreciate it. He says also,
Appreciate
Cody,
you, Alex.
pop that belly notification. Yeah. Don't want to miss out on these late night bangers. Alex is always here to support. Alex, we really appreciate it. And mainly we support your editing skills in Photoshop. This kid is unbelievable. Yeah, it's been good. And yeah, I also want to throw this up there because Jake, you texted me about this basically as soon as the game first pitch happened.
Yeah.
And Retro Tony, well, I believe Retro Tony has work in 6 hours now, says K was there tonight, which I was shocked. I didn't expect to see him. I thought his contract, he just has all the right to just say no to all West Coast, but he wanted to be there, and I was glad to see him because Michael K, again, we've talked about it multiple times. He's definitely a bucket lister to have on this show. I would love to do that. Certainly we will at some point, but yeah, I was glad to see him.
Yeah, no, man, it's no disrespect, but he is my broadcaster. I say it all the time. I'm friends with the voice of the Rams, but he does the radio, so I don't hear that on game days. I'll go back and I'll hear clips and stuff, and I like to support him, like, you know, but I don't have access to that radio station, and I like the broadcasters, but when it comes to Michael Kay, I don't have another broadcaster like that. That's my guy. He's been my guy since I was a little kid watching the Yankees. So, yeah, there's nothing like watching a Yankee game with Michael Kay. Like, let me tell you, after watching Michael Kay and then they go into the playoffs, it's like, why do we get demoted? Like, we don't get the same. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we deserve our own playoff broadcast. If you're the New York Yankees, like, I feel like that should just kind of come with the territory. Now, I understand the MLB does that, but yeah, it's not the same, Gary. It's just not.
Well, the fact, if Vin Scully couldn't do it,
no, I know.
It's just never going to happen. Because Vin Scully was my favorite before. Now it's Michael Kay. And I basically had co-favorites between Scully and Kay. And the fact that Dodgers fans had to watch any World Series without him on the broadcast, it makes no sense to me.
Well, what I would suggest, I don't think Kay would do it, but I would suggest he does radio for the postseason, and then I would literally mute the audio and just put Michael Kay's radio on. I would go out of my way.
How many people do you think would do that?
Everybody. Like, every Yankee fan would do that. That
right,
likes
so
Michael Kay.
That's your perspective. Welcome in, Cheeks. If that's your perspective, there's just no damn way ESPN or any other broadcast, TBS they're gonna say, yeah, the championship series, the Yankees are playing, and where's half our audience? Oh, they're listening to Michael Kay on the radio rather than the broadcast that we paid millions of dollars to force them
they
to listen
watch
to.
the broadcast, but they put Michael Kay.
They wouldn't allow that either
on the radio. Well, they don't have to put Michael Kay. Or maybe they could sign a deal where Michael Kay... How about you just bring Michael Kay into the damn booth, okay? I just want Michael Kay.
Trust me when I tell you, I don't want to listen to the jabronis any more than you do. I want to listen to the
Joe
guy...
Davis did a great job. He did. I'm a big fan of him. But
I want to listen
Michael
to my
Kay.
guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
to
feel
be fair, Joe Davis was he is the Dodgers announcer when, you know, he doesn't have to do those Fox games. So the Dodgers got their announcer announcing the whole World Series.
This is true. I want to talk about this super chat from Alex Reyes, and I want to jump to, I think it was like the final topic we had, and it was about Michael Kay's comment about Giancarlo, because I wanted to really tackle that. But Alex Reyes, and we did sort of touch on this Jesus Rodriguez situation. He's raking in the minor leagues, and
They finally mentioned him.
This happens quite a bit in the Yankees system. There's going to be a player in the system that all the hype is around. I hate using that word, but that's what the young kids like to use, so I'll use it. Hype. This is our top guy. This is the guy we like. This is the player we're building the future towards. This is who we want. And then all of a sudden you look to his left and say, but what about him? What about Agustin Ramirez? What about Caleb Durbin? What about Jesus Rodriguez? What about that guy? Look at his numbers. Can't he help us, especially at third base? It's a team weakness. Obviously not defensively, because we love the defense we got tonight.
Yeah.
But Jake, the numbers pop off the screen. He hits for average. He's got pop. He's a good player. And so what do I think about this player? Jake, you know what I think. I like this guy. I think the Yankees could give him a real shot. He's got a spot already on the 40 or on the 26, whatever they call it. But the real point here, I think he's just going to be trade bait. I do. Because when you have someone who is a high output player and the Yankees aren't talking about the idea of bringing him up at this point, given what you're getting at the position offensively, I think it tells me the Yankees want to preserve his value and go fill in the blanks with pitching that Brian Cashman told us about. So I want to see this guy play, but do I expect to see him play? I do not.
So this is where they're going to have to decide, because they actually have two of these guys. Now, he can play third, but he is technically listed as a catcher, right? He can play left field, he can play third. This is another catcher. They got, and I remember I said this, they got two catchers that are really good prospects. and this is another one. Rafael Flores, okay? He's in Double-A. He's behind Jesus Rodriguez. This is where they're going to have to decide. Because you have, on one hand, you look at Rodriguez, he's got an 819 OPS, a career 867 OPS in, the minors. This is not a guy with pop. He has 26 home runs his entire minor league career. But you look at Flores, he's already got 10 this year. So it depends on what they want to do. Because Rodriguez, like I said, is more of a contact bat. And, he's going to hit 324. But Flores ain't half bad. He's hitting 300 now, over 300. And he has home runs. So, I don't know who they're going to choose, Gary. To be honest, I don't know.
Is Flores just a straight-up catcher?
Flores is a straight-up catcher. So
I probably just trade the straight-up catcher. The reason I say this is because what I know, catchers never hit long-term. That's one. They just never happens, right? And then when the catcher is somebody who hits and they say, well, we don't like his defense, the Yankees spent 7 years, I don't know the exact number, and someone can obviously pull this up, with Gary Sanchez behind the plate. He was horrible behind the plate. He was bad in every sense of the word, to the point where Garrett Cole had to come out with his own designated catcher in Kyle Higashioka. So,
that's right.
I do not want anyone who's a catcher, and then someone will tell me, well, he can also play third base. No. Just go get a third baseman who hits. Trade all these catchers. Trade them. If they're hitting, trade them. Let somebody else think they're going to get Joe Mauer. Let them think that. They won't. And just let them.
I think you got to keep at least one of them. I would say that's tough. I feel like they're going to trade Flores, and Rodriguez will actually be the guy they end up keeping, and then he'll replace like Ascara potentially. Not now, but I mean probably down the road.
Okay.
Or they'll have him be like a Cabrera, where he's on the roster. He plays some days, he doesn't play every day type deal. But he's on the 40-man roster, Gary, and Rafael Flores is not. So I feel better about a guy that's on the 40 than I do a guy that's not. And it's interesting because Flores is 24, and Jesus Rodriguez is above him in AAA, and he's 23. So I think Flores is going to be like their Agustin Ramirez that they trade, at the deadline. He is definitely. I've been looking at this guy for a while, and this just feels like a deadline guy.
Sorry, Rafael.
I just hope they don't regret it, because Augustin's hitting well and Narvaez looks good, but
they won't. As long as we score as long as you trade these players, you can't look at it and be like, well, this player is giving someone else output. You need to like what you get via trade. Trade these players for players that you can use, players that are valuable to you. Just because you make a trade doesn't mean you have to give someone a turd sandwich and they give you back Paul Skeens. It doesn't work that way. Baseball is, especially when you're making these trades, so the promised one on PS5 says the one I'm keeping. So
that's not spam. That's not spam. Don't worry about it.
No, obviously when people argue and put 10 chats in a row, that is spam. But no, this is not spam. This is passion.
Or when you put your gum road course in my friggin'
Anyway, let's get to this Giancarlo thing, because I'm excited about this Giancarlo Stanton conversation. I wasn't expecting it from Michael Kay. He didn't have to say this. Essentially speaking, I'm just going to generalize what he said.
Yeah.
What did Cheeks just say? Did you accidentally put that on screen?
No, I put it on screen for you to see.
Okay, so Cheeks says, you guys will have your podcast still active in your 40s, and Boone will still be manager. If we haven't won a World Series and I'm 40, I'm retiring. I'm quitting.
If Boone is still manager,
my daughter will be able to talk to me and have full-blown conversation and be mature at that point. And she'll be like, Dad, you've been podcasting for this baseball team for 15 years, and you guys haven't won anything. It's time to hang them up. And
how do you think Pirates fans feel?
Just wasted. I imagine there's 12 Pirates podcasts out there. Right?
No way. There's
definitely a lot.
3.
There shouldn't be. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Okay. I did not expect you to go less.
Yeah.
But
there's
anyway,
like 3. Yeah.
But Michael K says Giancarlo Stanton is a player, especially given his health. And I actually agree. And you mentioned before we went live, Jake, you sort of agree with how this is going.
Yeah.
Michael K was saying this player has to play every day. It's the only way he can preserve himself. He's a streaky player. And if he's not going to be able to just turn it on and off when you need him, you're going to sit him for 2 or 3 days. He shows up. By the way, let me tell you how correct Michael K is. Giancarlo Stanton can't pinch hit for this exact reason. He doesn't know how to turn it on and off. He's a player that will play for you for a week and a half, look like George Washington cutting down a tree. Our whole chat is saying how bad he sucks. He stinks. Cut him. DFA him. He is overpaid. Waste of space. All of a sudden, he's 0 for 4 with 3 Ks with a dribble in the infield, and then he takes one more at bat that day, goes oppo for a home run. You're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, who really cares? That was a really pointless homer. Then all of a sudden you show up tomorrow. He goes 2 for 3 with a walk and 2 jacks, and you say, hold on a second. This man's hit 3 bombs the last 2 days, and then he does it the next day, and then the next day. And he is the epitome of streaky, and he does it most often in a positive way in October. Michael K is right. The Yankees do have to play Giancarlo Stanton at DH anytime he's healthy. So now the question is, and the broadcast sort of punted it by saying they hope it doesn't happen, but health tends to figure these things out for you anyway. What is happening right now?
Yeah, it's well, okay. So I remember last year when what's his face, Cashman was basically like, yeah, we've already planned, essentially without saying, we've already planned for Giancarlo to get hurt because he always does.
That was diabolical.
But I actually think it lit a fire under Giancarlo's ass because last year he was just a different player. And he was much better than 2023 and 2022. So I'm not saying I agree with it, but you know what? He's actually been really consistent when you think about it. The plate appearances, 452, 415, and 459, 3 years in a row. He's hit over 400 plate appearances.
So he's basically there for like 80% of the year, 75.
Yeah. So, and last year, 773 OPS, 759, and then, the year he wants to forget, 2023. Just wasn't a very good year.
What's that sprint speed up there?
Sprint speed?
Yeah. Is he
3.
Hey, you can't say he's the slowest man in the league.
No, that's definitely that's got to be somebody on the Blue Jays.
He's like one of those Michael Myers victims. They're just tripping over themselves and just slow.
No, so yeah, with Stanton, it's so funny because I remember he's running now, right? Like they said he's doing sprints, and he's just like.
I don't really understand the point. Really what is interesting though about the sprinting, man. And obviously it is a part of the game. You have to hit the ball. He technically still just has to run. He has to run to first base. He's got to run his 90 feet. He's going to stop. And he basically just like coasts into a stop. It's
like he's doing karaoke. It's like I said, like in the gym.
Yeah, but he also has a cutoff shirt on. I'm like, is that necessary?
Yeah.
Why is he in a cutoff shirt? Which he's just trying to be comfortable. So just having fun with him. But Giancarlo Stanton, I think we'd imagine he's probably like a month away at this point? 5 weeks?
He's closer than Luis Heel. I was surprised to learn that. Like Heel might not come back until August. So,
well, 6th season.
Well, and honestly, you know what? If that's the case, and he's just coming back for the postseason, when you basically told me last year, because actions speak louder than words, that you don't trust him in the postseason, well, what good is that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
What do you do with Luis Heel? They probably throw him in the bullpen.
Well, that's what I think they're going to do, because he's going to get 2 months to ramp up, and then, oh, yeah, by the way, October, and we have to win the World Series, or we're trading your ass. And we still might trade your ass after the fact. So,
well, if Luis Heel, by the way, they could have used him in the bullpen last year, still chose not to, by the way. still chose we'd rather throw Nestor Cortez out there at the bullpen than Luis
God.
Gil. They would not throw Luis Gil out on the mound. And people will say, well, would you have done it? I'm not here to argue one way or the other. All I'm telling you is this is like rookie of the year. So
I actually would have started him.
So you would have trusted him with that. I personally, I was afraid to pitch him. I didn't
would have
trust it for whatever
because he
reason.
got me there. You know what I mean? He was one of the things that got me there. That's how I looked at it. But I understood why they didn't. I thought the rationale was clean. That's not why they lost, so I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, if they lost because starting pitching was terrible, it's like you had the rookie of the year just chilling there on the bench. That'd be different. But you lost because the defense was literally potato. And, yeah, that's why you lost. I mean, defense is the reason they lost. They were in every game. And there were points where you kind of sat there and you're like, are they actually outplaying the Dodgers in this series and they're about to lose? Like, it was really wild because it wasn't your stereotypical, like, they almost got swept type deal where they just were dominated. I didn't feel like there was, like, but to your point, and you said this multiple times, that was probably the best chance you had at being that Dodgers team that year. So,
it didn't.
I mean, now
better.
you have all the injuries, so we'll see what ends up happening. Although it feels like they always have injuries and they find a way, but
very true. And BG, last thing I'll say, and then let's get to our Profit X picks.
I'm a starter.
BG says, yeah. So, but is Stroh a starter though? Stroh is a lemon. He's not a starter. He's not not a reliever. He's not a closer. He is an $18.5 million lemon, and I'm happy for him.
Lemons are good, though.
Yep, lemons are okay. Get
don't
your
eat
bread.
lemons, bro?
No, I don't. I like
They're
lemonade.
so good. No, you got to eat lemons. They're amazing.
Yeah. Anyway,
you're like, all right. On that weird note,
I won't touch a lemon. I won't. Yeah, let's get to our picks. I'm glad we don't have a day off tomorrow. That's nice. No Disneyland for the boys.
Yeah, no, definitely glad about that. They have one of the coolest aesthetics in the outfield. I'll say that. I like. Oh,
you like the rocks in left?
Oh, hell yeah, dude! They look so dope. They kept them there because Disney, I guess, owned them or some. I forget what it was, but yeah, they kept them there, and yeah, they should never go away because they look great. But tomorrow is Tyler Anderson, who he's interesting because he can look pretty good. But like he's not like one of those dominant power pitchers. He's more of a finesse guy. You know, he's not going to typically get tons of strikeouts or anything like that. But no, I think, you know, Anderson versus Carlos Rodon, and we already have on Profit X here, Rodon's at 7.5 plus money, by the way. I'm going to take Rodon 7.5. I mean, we just saw, what was it, 7 or 8 today for Yarbrough strikeouts.
Yeah, and plus Chris Taylor was literally signed today, and he played.
He made that diving catch and thought he was like the coolest ever. It was like, oh my God, the sliding catch or whatever. It was kind of funny.
It was pretty funny. It looked like when the kid makes a diving play and then his dad's like, da-na-na, da-na-na. It's like, okay, well, anyway.
Yeah, all right. About that.
But I do agree overall. I mean, Anaheim, they're playing some good baseball overall. Like, up until this game, they'd won 8 of the last 10. So they're playing some good baseball. They are playing some pretty weak opponents. That is an aspect of it. But, again, you have to imagine what matters here is what the Yankees offense does. But I will say, given what's happened, you've got Fernando Cruz on the IL, right? You've got Weaver, who, according to the Yes broadcast and according to common sense now, Weaver's not pitching tomorrow. He's pitched a ton these last 3 outings that we've had. He's not pitching. So Rodon is essentially he's probably going to be trusted big inning tomorrow. Big inning usually means good things for the over on the K's. So I love this pick.
Yeah, no, I like the over on that for sure. I just think Rodon has just been kind of, you know, he's run roughshod of teams. And I like the under on Tyler Anderson, 4.5. This is a guy that gets about a strikeout an inning. And I think he'll be in for 5 innings, but I don't think he's going to get 5 strikeouts. So I think he ends up with 4 strikeouts in about 5 innings. And I think the Yankees are going to slaughter their bullpen in either game 2 or game 3. Did you see that ERA?
I didn't see the ERA. I missed
has
that.
the worst in the league.
Really?
That is a golden opportunity for the Yankees because I feel like the Yankees, they can get on a starting pitcher like one inning and just knock him out. Like that one dude that was killing it 3 series ago, I think it was, and they were like, how the hell are they losing this guy? And then all of a sudden, they just the floodgates just opened and they just destroyed him.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. You're not talking about the Hitchcock or whatever from 1645?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Sterling Hitchcock.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, at first it looked like he was taking us to school, and then it was like, oh, hold on a second.
7 runs in 1 inning, and he was just like, where did my whole appearance go?
But, yeah, so essentially mission number 1 is Tyler Anderson, work the counts. We're not saying just stand there.
Yeah,
wait
no, of course
pitches.
not. He'll give you pitches to hit, but he's looking for soft contact.
Yes, and Mark he's got some lofty expectations.
Wow.
Mark with the 5. Thank you for supporting this channel.
Appreciate
As always, Mark says complete game shutout for Rodon. Would love to see that. Boone will let it happen despite his usual hesitancy because he's desperate to give the BP a rest. So I do want to give Boone a little bit more credit. I think more times than not, he does make a lot of sense of when he pulls his starter. I actually like the job he does of when he pulls a starter. I know we can sort of get nitpicky with it, but we do run a podcast every single day. So overall, I like the job he's done. The obvious decision, Rodon, no Cruz, no Weaver. Go out there and give me big innings. So complete game shutout would be great, of course.
Yeah, so we got strikeout for Rodon, under on the Tyler Anderson here. First 5 innings, I'm actually going to take the under on this one. 4.5 runs. I'm going to take the under. I think the Yankees, the floodgates open after the 5th inning. So
I have no remix to that whatsoever. I wasn't looking at the first through 5 innings, but I will take that absolutely. And then our last pick is going to be over total bases. And so we can probably assume that. Do you think Dominguez? Man. Do you think Dominguez? Because Anderson's a lefty, correct?
Yeah. So Anderson, I believe, is a lefty. Let me check.
I think they give Dominguez the start against a lefty tomorrow. Right-handed.
He is a lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Goldschmidt. He was off today. He's ready. He's chomping at the bit to get back out there. He has a 333 batting average, a 945 OPS all time against Tyler Anderson. Not a ton of at-bats, I get that, but his process, he's just got these repeatable mechanics. I trust him more often than not. So I haven't I haven't actually used a Goldschmidt total basis play before, so we're going to go with that. Well, I'm going to go with that.
Alex, this is the biggest trap game ever. Yep, I agree with you. Let's go Goldschmidt over 1.5. I mean, obviously, I'm not taking Dominguez.
Oh,
and certainly he can do it. But I think the Yankees, I think Boone gives him the start. Usually he likes to, and this is just sort of my perspective on what he chooses to do. I think he goes Dominguez to hit from the right side against a lefty when it's not high velocity to work on it. I'm going to just make the prediction.
I like that.
No guarantees. Could very well be out of the lineup tomorrow.
Average fastball velocity is 88.9. So
yes, it is not going to be high velocity.
Sense.
I believe. And people say, well, he's a switch hitter. Well, as of now, he is not.
No.
He is a left-handed hitter who goes up righty. I believe he's hitting under 200. I know that as a right-handed hitter. So
I hope that improves so much.
I mean, come on. You're batting over 500.
Yeah.
Of course he's starting. It's teed up for it.
Yeah.
We might get a homer from Goldie tomorrow.
So I wanted to go with that, but he keeps it in the yard. Like Tyler Anderson is like one of the best in the league at like basically limiting exit velo.
Don't ruin my fun.
I know. I can't go with a home run in good conscience. I just can't. I do like LeMahieu in this game a lot. So keep an eye on him as well. And then let's do a bonus one here for our little fans. Oh, look at that. I'm going to take the Knicks. They're tying up the series tomorrow.
Oh God.
Let's go Knicks, baby. They're going to tie up this series and they're going to win it all.
Yeah, Josh Hart moves to the bench. He has to be on the bench. Love that. He's a team guy. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everyone on
I've
their
always
roster.
liked Josh Hart.
No, I shouldn't say everyone on the roster, but for the most part, they're team guys. Brunson takes a team discount. He's obviously loved in New York. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
And yeah, the NBA needs the Knicks. They do.
They do.
It's time. At the very least, maybe they don't have to win everything, but we can't just watch Oklahoma City go play Indiana. It cannot happen. And I'm also rooting for them not just because of what we don't want. I want to see the Knicks get there. Like I've said before, not a Knicks fan. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, having been
I'm a
born
Laker
and
fan
raised
too,
in
so
Phoenix.
I don't, you know.
Right. So, but Josh Hart coming off the bench, Knicks got to win this game. Must win.
Hell yeah. All right. So yeah, let's go. Obviously Yankees. Let's go Knicks. Did we do the Yankees money line, by the way?
No, I didn't even see it.
Okay, this is a fat one, guys. So we'll go over it real quick again. Yankees money line. We're gonna take the under first through fifth inning, 4.5, and we'll go up to 5.5. Shut up. And then Carlos Rodon over strikeouts, Tyler Anderson under strikeouts, and then last but not least, we got the Paul Goldschmidt total bases at 1.5 over, and of course, the Knicks are going to beat the Pacers and win Game 4, tying up the series, and they're going to go to the NBA Finals. So, yeah, that's what I have.
Subscribe, like this video.
Like it. Oh, comment. Someone asked, like, what are we doing for comment?
Oh,
time?
I blew that last episode. We ended the show. Yeah, so great thinking. What can we put? How about this? How about you guys give us, is it fair if we say give us Knicks predictions?
Yeah, I think it's fair. If you're, let's do that. How about this? Why don't you just do double dose? Give us the final score of the Knicks and Pacers game and the Yankees and Angels game, and we'll see if somebody hits it dead on. And if they do, I don't know. We'll do something.
We'll throw you a pizza party. Like this video, subscribe.